Hello.
Today we are reviewing The Flash Season 5, Episode 8. And this one is called The Past is Prologue.
Yes.
Prologue. What happened?
Let's see. In this episode, they decided that their plan of defeating Cicada is to go back in time and grab the correct materials to create kind of like a dark matter rod that will absorb any sort of dark matter that's shot around it, in which the rod would then pull Cicada's boomerang lightning bolt to it. And they felt like that was the way so that they would be able to capture Cicada, because they found out who Cicada is and where he's going to be. Now, the whole point of the episode for that is that everything that Barry has experienced in his previous seasons is all the material that's needed to create that rod to attract the boomerang so that the Flash team can defeat Cicada and rescue and arrest him. So the idea was given to them by Nora, in which Barry knows that if he does that, he's going to have to travel back in time, changing certain things about the past in which are very minute and that will not mess with the current with the events of that time. Now that's a little tricky, as you guys know, when Barry had done that in the past and created a paradox. So he decides that he was going to go alone, but Nora wanted to go with him, and Iris convinced Barry to allow Nora to go with him on this time travel back in time. The items that they needed to collect were a piece of Savitar's suit, in which is a metallic material that does not exist, and it does not exist in their time, and it can hold a lot of dark matter, so it's kind of like the perfect battery. Then, secondly, they needed to get a containment device that will be able to absorb and transfer the dark matter, and in which that comes from the Zoom season, when Zoom injects himself with Barry's speed after Barry gave his speed to Zoom. Then, lastly, they needed the dark matter energy force.
Particle accelerator.
Yes, and that came from the particle accelerator all the way back in season 1. So this was the mark of their 100th episode. So it was kind of interesting to see how they were going back and past to explain a lot of things that happened in the past. And it was kind of like a trip for Nora to see the reality of Barry Allen's life before she was born. And, you know, leading up to this point, all Nora knows about Barry is from the Flash Museum. That he's this grandiose hero and everybody loves him, and his battles are just super and crazy. But in reality, he went through a lot of pain and suffering to get to where he's at. And she goes, but even when she goes, it feels like there is an ulterior motive for her than just to see what her dad's past is. Barry, with that goal in mind, takes Nora and goes to the different timelines to achieve the goal of getting those materials. He goes back to the Savitar, and he was about to get it. Then he noticed a time wraith chasing him, which is of key importance, and we'll explain later. He tells Nora to get the material, but when Nora grabs it, Nora sees Iris killing Savitar. She never really realized how Savitar died. I'm assuming the Flash Museum doesn't tell them how Savitar died. Savitar, it just tells them that they battled and Flash won. She learned the truth that even Barry wouldn't kill Savitar. He wouldn't kill himself. But Iris kills Time Remnant Barry. Then she leaves. So they both, but there's an interesting part when they leave. Barry's trying to run away from the Time Wraith. Nora actually runs by the Time Wraith and with her power rewinds time and allows herself to catch up to Barry. So she kind of like exists, her abilities kind of exist like parallel to the time stream, in which she can go in and out of the time stream and make changes, and it doesn't seem to alter it in any like significant manner. Then they go and they travel to the next time zone, in which is Zoom, and it was the instant where Zoom stole Barry's speed.
And then Zoom stumble upon them, and Zoom tries to stop them, and then they run after they pick up the little item they need to pick, and the Time Wraith comes, and here is the twist change in the timeline. Zoom died early. The Time Wraith got Zoom earlier than he was supposed to.
Right.
And then they end up, because they're trying to escape Zoom, they fall into a wrong timeline.
Right.
Which they fall into when Barry times travel back then, and he gets caught by Harrison Wells.
I remember from season 2 when Barry runs back in time to learn how to fix the tachyon enhancement device so that he can combat against Zoom. And he went back into that time. So that's where they ended up going to by accident. Now, they went there to what was it? Just to kind of...
No, because they went there,
That's
they
right.
fell into the wrong
broke.
timeline, and the tube thing broke. And so the only person who can fix it is Reverse Flash, Ibor Thong. So they go into meeting him when he locked up the other Barry. And he's like, oh, what's going on? And like Barry's just like, hurry up and get this fixed. And it's like he's like asking who the girl is, and Barry's like, it's none of your business. And she says that I'm Nora Allen. And he's like, oh, so you're the other one.
Right.
So it is, I'm correct, there's 2 of them.
Right, so we're starting to learn more and more about what is going on in 2049. There is Dawn. He actually mentions the name Dawn Allen. And when he mentions it, Nora doesn't budge. Like, Nora doesn't tell him to shut up. She doesn't tell him to budge. She nothing. She just... It's almost like the name Dawn Allen falls on deaf ears onto her. So it's almost like she actually doesn't even know that she has a twin that exists. That's what it almost seems like. And that she thinks she's the only child of Barry and Nora, and Barry and Iris. So I think we can all assume that, with all this, Eobard knows what the hell's going on. He came from the future, so he's not dumb. Now, he may have come a little bit... This Harrison Wells might be a little bit before 2049. Because 2049, we saw at the end how 2049 Eobard has actually been locked up in Iron Heights or whatever. So, this one that has been time traveling all over, he's probably from a time before.
Yeah.
And Nora, they get the tube thing fixed. So once that happens,
they go to the park, particle accelerator, let it explode. They get everything, and the 2 of them run back.
Yeah.
So but before they run back, when the particle accelerator exploded, they needed to put all of that, the Savitar, the 2 with particle accelerator stuff near the hospital where they can go get it, where Cicada and his niece is. And so they do all that, and then fast forward, they come back to the future, and they go and bait out Cicada to come out. And then they all like bait him, and he brings out his rod and everything, and it gets sucked into that, and then Cisco throws it into space. But it comes back to him.
Right. They don't understand that he's an actual meta.
Yeah, it's actually him. And so he slows all their power down, and he's about to, like, kill them. And then we get Killer Frost, who comes out. So now here we get the idea that for this season, the one who's going to be killing or getting rid of Cicada is Killer Frost.
Well, she's gonna play a key factor.
Yeah, because
she's not affected by it.
She's not affected by it. She's not a meta-human created by them. She's like created by like something else that her dad and her mom or whatever created. So she's not immune to any of this. So she can survive through it. And so they figure that out, and Cicada gets away with it. And then that's when we get Nora to run. Before she runs back, Sherlock gets her book.
Yes.
And then here is what we've been trying to figure out. When Barry came back from the Speed Force, and he was writing all these language, and Cisco tries to translate it, and they get, this house is bitchin'. Now, what do we get Sherlock? Sherlock decodes it, and he gets time is
malleable.
Yes. So therefore, we get Nora, who gets her book back, and then she runs back, and she sees Reverse Flash, who is locked up.
Yeah. And she tells him that they need to talk, and he's like, yes, we do. But it's not just that. It's the fact that it's now revealed that Nora, the person who's trained Nora on how to run to Speed Force and taught Nora how to use her speed and stuff has been Eobard. Which is something dangerous because of the fact that Eobard doesn't teach her because he loves her. He teaches her because he needs her to do something for him.
Yeah, because by doing so, you guys kind of get the idea of like how she's trying to get Barry to realize that, like, or get to the point where you can have all of this, the happiness with my grandparents,
right?
If you didn't choose to be the Flash. So she's pretty much getting Barry to get those feelings and want to have that he needs it. Therefore, he gives up being the Flash. Therefore, she gets her father, and Reverse Flash gets what he wants to become the Flash.
Right.
Yeah.
A little side note, Nora does realize that Iris loves Barry a lot. Mm-hmm. She realized that Iris doesn't love Barry for his speed, that she loves Barry for who he is. So even though she saw Iris shoot Savitar, she saw Iris console Barry after he lost his speed and he fell into a dark place in his life. She saves him, and she tells him that it's okay, that they will work through this. So she actually sees that her mom loves him a lot, but she also learns the truth about why Barry hates Eobard. And apparently Eobard never told her that he killed Barry's mom and caused all this pain and suffering to Barry Allen. So that's what really pisses her off, which probably is the root cause of her running all the way back to 2049 to talk to Eobard.
Yeah. So that's pretty much for the episodes. And for, well, more like tomorrow, we get Elseworld starts tomorrow on Sunday, which we get started with the Flash first. And then on Monday, we get Arrow. And then on Wednesday, we get Supergirl. Right. So they swap a little here.
Yeah.
And
which is great.
Yeah. We get to watch 3 episodes every day. 1 episode per day. And then we'll review and we'll talk about it once all 3 of them is done, so we get the idea of what's going on. But we end up getting introduced at the end of this episode, of what happened in the Elseworld. Destiny gets rewritten. Yeah. And then, Barry, we all been seeing previews. Barry and Oliver wakes up and they're swapped. Yeah. Oliver becomes Barry, Barry becomes Oliver, and in Supergirl's world, seems like they might be 2 Superman because, first it seems like Clark Kent is fine and he's Superman and he's her cousin. The next we see him, he's in the black suit and he's evil, all these things like that. Right. So we will see how the crossover would be, and once the crossover finishes, I think we go on our break.
Yeah.
We go on a break, and Joshi and I will have our last review for the crossover. And once that is done, we will see you guys in January.
Yep.
So the Flash will be taking a break for us.
Yep, it will.
Yeah. That is it for this Flash review for this week, and we will see you guys for the Elseworld crossover.